Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Hola, bon dia, alegria, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show. Turns out a live stream and the podcast, of course. Don't forget the podcast. How are you doing today? I suspect him in some ways better than yesterday. At this time yesterday, we were recording and going about our business, and I find myself abluting. I'll make no finer point of it, but I was somewhat indisposed, not inconvenienced, but in the conveniences when I discovered that the power to our house had been withdrawn. There was an outage, a power cut here in Portugal. And I think that must have been around mid-morning, 11 o'clock perhaps, midday even. And we were set to go to Caldas de Rainha, a town nearby. And it became apparent that there was no electricity. Now, I'm quite used to this. We had an outage, I think, a couple of months ago where a local fuse on the street fried and cut the supply to 4 houses, myself and 3 neighbors. And occasionally we have outages, often to do with poor weather conditions. And also, somebody mentioned yesterday here in São Martinho de Porto, when the tourists are in town, that puts an additional burden on the supply, which sometimes causes a power cut. I prefer the phrase power cut is what I grew up with rather than outage, but I think outage is more generally known. And yes, this is a live stream, so get your thoughts in about what you suspect happened yesterday and your views on it more generally. I mean, my first and foremost view is, what the hell happened? That is ridiculous. It's an embarrassment. It's embarrassing to this country and to the countries around it and to Europe and so-called advanced countries that they would find themselves in this position. Absolutely awful, terrible situation to be in from the point of view of a civilized society. But more on that, I'll come back to that in a little while. Good morning to you, Jackie and Owen, by the way. So I thought I'd walk the dogs in anticipation of maybe going to Caldas if the thing righted itself. And as I walked up the street, I could see more neighbors were on the street than normal, and more neighbors were on the street than is normal when there's a power cut or an outage. And I met a new neighbor, muito prazer, Nico, just up the road, who came out to say he couldn't work. We had a sort of broken language, English, Portuguese conversation, and he was out in what looked like his pajamas, and he was obviously working. That's the new uniform, isn't it, for working at home? But he came out, I can't work. I saw my other neighbor. Oh, you're out of power too. Just, bon dia, just say hi to people in the street, walk the dogs, came back. And it became apparent that none of the street had any power. Suspected then that none of the town had any power. And I got a call from Bobby O'Reilly asking me what was going on. I said, what's going on? What do you mean what's going on? The power's out, buddy. In Lisbon, I think he was in Lisbon, no traffic lights. And he thought if he called me, I would know. And thanks to him, I was alerted, and I sparked up a quick live stream and tried to find out. And thanks to everybody who took part in that live stream yesterday. Lots of new people, lots of new subscribers to the channel. Thank you for subscribing if you're here again this morning. And some very interesting comments. The usual spectrum of comments. I'm getting used to this now. It's a very much a lockdown and pandemic thing. It's a political thing. Every issue now, you can is it 7 or 12 types of people? I'm going to go with 12, like a jury, like the astrological spectrum. Just 12 people seems to be a useful cross-representation of humanity. And, you know, you go from the full-on conspiracy theorist to the government's got our back, don't worry, and everything in between, it would appear. And those aren't necessarily the ends of the spectrum. Let's call it a circle rather than a linear thing. But, you know, everyone was represented in the live stream I did. This is not a time for joking, and then lots of people telling jokes. Just all the ways that humans are in their 12 archetypes, basically. So it was very interesting to do that. And then power dwindled gradually. It became impossible to do the live stream, and it became obvious, as Mrs. M was saying, look, we need you in the house. we need to plant food. And we went about our own archetypal behaviors, me and Mrs. M in the house. Very interesting. Kids had a great day, I have to say. And I think in any situation, the baseline situation in all of the ills that can strike humanity, and this is a sentiment from my favorite spiritual teacher, Barry Long. Whatever happens, the children will play and the birds will sing. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. The children played and the birds sang. And then the humans, the older, the grown-up humans, were going about their business trying to make sense of a situation that they'd relied upon. But when you went to push the button, go to your phone, do anything you normally might do as your first thing in life, or living, I should call it, modern life, it wasn't there for us, was it? It wasn't there, and we had to adjust. I started chopping wood, and I cooked lunch over open flames. Yay, me! It was fascinating, and Mrs. M was, dusting down the seeds and getting some food growing. We were reminded of our vulnerability, weren't we? And that was on an individual basis. And have I got it in here? Did I call it or did I call it? I've been writing articles in the last couple of weeks on preparedness, a 72-hour challenge of some sort, and it looked like that yesterday, didn't it? It was talk of, this isn't going to be sorted out for 3 days. Definitely not going to be sorted out in the next few hours. Maybe later on, maybe not. And I was talking about preparedness. It's almost as though I knew, and I promise you I didn't. I suspected, there was going to be something like this occurring, and that's a useful precaution for any human being, isn't it, in living in the sort of society we do. But yes, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I think I wrote an article of that name. And we live somewhere in between, don't we, with our hopes and dreams and fears and all the rest of the human condition. But I think I called it. And I think I'm on point and on topic in this recent time, in these last few weeks. So where was I? Yeah, me and Mrs. M, got the candles out, started doing things we felt we should have done weeks, months, possibly years ago. We're reminded of all of that. Thank you for all your comments that have come in, and definitely get around to those at some point. I just want to revisit the scene for anybody who wasn't there, who wants to know what happened here in Portugal, and I'll weave your comments in as part of that commentary. Perhaps when people see my clickbaity tile of what the hell happened, they might be interested to know what happened to us here in Portugal. Mrs. M said, how about we go to the beach? And I puffed up my chest and said, no, I will go to the town on my own, and you stay safe in the house here. I thought with the traffic lights out and what was going on around the country and in Spain, and then we were hearing in parts of France, possibly Germany, possibly Italy, possibly Switzerland. My neighbor said Switzerland as well, because everyone's phoning each other, aren't they, and finding out what's going on with their family and friends in nearby countries. I said, to the missus, you stay here, look after the children. I'll go and see what's going on in the town. So I got on my bicycle. I was like, at every riot, there's somebody too old to be on a small bicycle. I was like that guy. There's always somebody on a bike at a riot, isn't there? There wasn't a riot, but there was a bike. So I was on my bike-based recce. First place I came to was the local Intermar. And I said to the lady outside the Intermarché, "Boa sorte, good luck." She laughed and said something, I think, along the lines of, "I hope we won't need good luck." But the Intermarché local shop was well and truly closed, and their petrol station as well. Barriers were down on both sides. You couldn't even use, the electronic signs plunged into darkness. They couldn't go in. And I think the other petrol station, although that looked open, and a petrol lorry, gas lorry, was just leaving, having refilled the place, I think, unless it was siphoning things out to take elsewhere. I don't know, but it looked like they just had a delivery. But the one of the pumps was out, one of the pumps looked like it was working, but the street lighting was out, as in the street sign was out in our other petrol station. So it looked like the gas stations were out as well. Over the road, however, the Loja Chinesa. This is encouraging, isn't it? It would appear that there are certain things that just remain standing in any human challenge, Chinese shops being one of them, and a rather poignant sign about the gaming event. On the left of that screen, you'll see the gaming event that's coming up in Óbidos Castle, which I've been to for the last couple of years with my kids. First time with my eldest, who loved it, and then we took the whole family last year, and it was great fun. They would be pretty screwed without any electricity, so hopefully They're probably thinking contingency. I wonder if the medieval castle, they've got the most modern generators and backup systems. But anyway, Chinese shops were open. The word started to go around on Facebook groups. Now, I've got to say, our Facebook group in San Martino de Porto, the Grapevine, you came into your own. You were awesome yesterday, and there was a really lovely message. There were many, actually. Nunu was popping up in there. He was popping up all over the place in different groups. But there was something about how lovely it was, how great it was that we have this group, and the spirit that came alive in the group. Oh yeah, also here, really love this group for what happened today. This convivial survival feeling and support. Yay! And Nunu says it was just a peak of emotion. As I say, everyone's got their view on this, but it was great to get the updates when the data, when mobile data would allow. And that's what seemed to be happening, because anything that depended directly on electricity, like your Wi-Fi router, those were down, weren't they? So we were down to 5G systems, and I could verify that for Mayo and Vodafone, and that's what I did my show on. Although it was getting very patchy, everybody was switching. Obviously, they weren't able to use their home-based fiber Wi-Fi broadband, so people were using their data. Then the message went round, okay, we should stay off the data, let the emergency services use that. And it was getting pretty patchy. And it felt like it was being switched on and off, or there was a massive demand, so it was becoming impossible to use. So it was lovely to see the messages that were emanating and how people were supporting each other on WhatsApp groups. Back to my tour around town on my bicycle, on my alternative powered transport system. Chinese shops then, oh, that's not a Chinese shop. There's the Chinese shop that remained open. I drove past a shop along the sea, near the seafront in San Martino de Porto, and there was a queue. And I was thinking, people do love a queue. And is it toilet paper? Is it condoms, which I think is the custom in France? Water. Lots of people are getting water. And you might argue that a bit late for that, but nonetheless, the pressure was being felt on supermarkets. Lee McGrady rushed to the shop, got himself some beer and crisps, his panic supplies. Well done, Lee. Just in time preparation there. And another one of their shops, the one that was open and allowing 2 people in and 2 people out, I think they had one up the road that was shut. The main supermarket was closed. One small neighborhood store was open. I'm guessing at this point, where there were some cafes that were open. I didn't take any pictures where there were people, big groups of people. I didn't want to be sort of mawkish or morbid or intrusive in that way, but just to let you know that everywhere was in darkness in terms of how, most cafes and restaurants and shops have display lighting, and they were all in darkness. But they weren't all closed. Some were closed. Some were definitely for shadow. Some stayed open, and I think probably were running tabs or were dealing in cash. And I went to Palmera, having passed a cash machine, actually. Isn't that a rare sight? There is a ATM. It says so. Looking for an ATM? Here's one. Cash machine, hole in the wall, whatever you call it, whatever your phrase for one of these is. And in darkness, never seen that before. And so I cycled along to Palmera, past many cafes that were in darkness. Some were open. Gelato Mania, I don't know what's happened to their inventory. The big ice cream shop, that was closed. Other more local stores, mom and pop sort of operations were open. Chains were finished, weren't they? Anything belonged to a big chain, I think it was told to shut down by head office. And we were told airports were shut, trains were cancelled by this point. That was the news that was coming through. And I headed to Palmera. Now, if you've had any prepping conversations, there's the concept of the waffle shop. Now, waffle shops, I believe, in the United States are places that stay open pretty much all the time. They don't close. The staff come in and out, but the doors stay open. And that's seen as a useful place to gather in an emergency if it's safe to do so. For me, it's Palmera. I've got 2 cafes in mind, but Palmera is quite useful because there's a lot of open space where people can congregate. And actually, we're going to have a review meeting. If you're in San Martino de Porto, we're meeting there at 10 this morning. That was my view from there yesterday. Excuse me just one moment. Just leaving you there to enjoy the view. Kids were playing. Teenage lads, obviously sent home from school, were playing football. The beach was pretty busy. We did what Portuguese people do, I think. We're learning what to do in emergency, which is to chill. I went and had a beer. I paid in cash. and drank my beer and reflected on my lot as I looked out across the bay. And I think other people had this plan as well. And actually, with the whole family, when we went down later, it was my first plunge into the water. It was bloody freezing, but it was really nice to do that yesterday. Actually, we all went for we didn't all of us. Most of us had a paddle. We all had a paddle, and 3 of us had actually had a plunge into the sea yesterday. So that was really nice. It was a good plan. Mrs. M was right. We should have gone to the beach straight away, but I wanted to check out what was going on in town and make sure it was safe, which it was. And I had a beer then, and later on that same day, thank you very much, Hugh. This was delicious. This was delicious, my friend. Good to see you, Sarah and Dan, last night, who came round. And we were expecting to sit outside by about 9 or 10, I think it was 9, I think perhaps. And I was just taking the dogs out. We were winding down. We had seen Sarah and Dan earlier on and said, come round for a drink later. Didn't think they were coming, but then they turned up. I took the dogs around the block. And whilst I was out, taking the dogs out, I saw the most beautiful display of glowworms. What are they called? Fireflies. Glowworms. Fireflies are probably a better description. And I think given that nature was dark for a change and allowed to be so, it was a beautiful. I was just about to get my phone out to take a video of the fireflies to show everybody back at home, who I expected by that time would have had the wine open and be surrounded by candles, and we were going to have a convivial gathering, a survivalist gathering, drinking wine in the Portuguese way and staying tranquilo and calma. That a light came on outside somebody's house. And then I heard a sort of little crackle, and the lights came on all around me. So by about 9, certainly by 9:30, 10 o'clock, the power had returned. And our neighbor, who is the president of the town, and I think an electrical engineer mentioned that it was coming towards us. This is how it happened. The network came back to life in chunks and stages, substations, I'm guessing. And the theories that had developed during the day were a fire in the Pyrenees, an oversupply which had fried some lines coming in over the Pyrenees as well to do with that fire. Obviously, Russia, Trump even, I think, maybe, I don't know. Anyone wants to blame Trump for everything was obviously hanging this on him as well. What else came up? Oh, insiders. Texts were going around. I've got friends inside EDP. It's a cyber attack. I still don't think we know, and I don't think we'll ever know. That's the way with these things, isn't it? That's the way of big things. You never really know. It just wallows in the whole, the realm of what you might call conspiracy theories. Then people get criticized for being conspiracy theorists because nothing moves on with something useful and tangible. Or maybe it never will. I mean, maybe no one's ever going to be satisfied anyway, and they've all got banging on about their own agendas, and that's why we never get anywhere with these things. And great outpourings of humor and news. This was one screenshot. According to ENET, this was SIC was reporting this, one of the Portuguese channels. The interruption was due to a problem in the European electricity network, which as a consequence affected the national grid. The apagão, there's your vocabulary, apagão, power cut in Portuguese, or outage, apagão, affecting Portugal, Spain, and other European countries. So that seemed to be one of the strongest theories, as well as the cyber attack. And then I guess if people didn't get the answer they wanted, they could always revert to the conspiracy theory idea, could they not? That if it wasn't the thing that they thought it should be, a cyber attack or Russia or whatever, it's like, well, they're keeping that from us. But we'll see. It's early days yet, isn't it? I think there are more immediate and more practical matters to address. Although you could argue the cause is a pretty serious thing to address at the moment. For me, how we found ourselves in such a position of vulnerability is the big problem. Whatever done it, will be talked about, I'm sure. But the fact that we could be in that position and be so vulnerable as a society, I just thought was outrageous. Outage. We put the outage in outrageous. It's unreal, unbelievable, unimaginable that we would find ourselves in a whole country outage. Who thought that might be a good idea? How are we sleeping at night knowing that that's what's going on? It's absolutely ridiculous. And so more footage and things to share with you. Thank you, Pam. And this is what I was asking for, is people to send in not only their funny memes, and their blessings and so on. We want those for sure. But these are very useful images, aren't they? Thanks, Pam. You're not sure how the shop had power, a generator, I suspect. Some shops had generators, some restaurants did for sure. And that's a good precaution if you've got a freezer full of stuff, isn't it? And I know the Portuguese people were helping out. Wherever there was the fear of beer or ice cream spoiling, people rushed to the cafes to help consume such perishable products. So thanks for that, Pam. Hospital lit, excellent. Good to know that that's what happens. And a shop that was lit, presumably with a generator there. Thank you, Pam, for that. And the humor, of course. We had this. If you're in Portugal or Spain and don't have electricity, try this. I don't know if anybody did try that, but that's amazing, isn't it? Is that one of Nikola Tesla's inventions or theories brought to life there? So make sure you've got one of those standing by, and you'll end up with what looks like a virtual loop and eternal supply of electricity. Don't know why I didn't think of trying that. Thank you, Johnny Cocktail. Nationwide power outage occurring in Portugal. Good thing I have these handy containers to fill with drinking water. I suspect that's the first time they've ever seen drinking water. Johnny Cocktail right there. Cocktail prepper. Looking forward to filming with you soon here in Portugal. And the theories, of course. The new electrician who started work in the Iberian Peninsula yesterday, busy testing the system. AI, I suspect, right there. Any other photos you've got for me, do send them in. I'm just having a look at what you've got here. Renewable power on the... hold on a minute. So this is an interesting one as well. Yeah, turbines were at a standstill, which surprised some people. Portugal, the country that doesn't need the grid, because sometimes it's completely off-grid, wasn't yesterday for some reason. What's all that about? Bon dia to you, T-Duck. Thank you. Oh, Mel, that's nice. Thank you very much. Some cooking solutions. Thank you for all your pictures. These are brilliant that are coming in. Bob, oh, you had a great time. Ah, fantastic, Viv. Cooking on the churrasquera. Yes, a lot of people went to their... Oh, I was shamed yesterday. My kids went out in the garden and were like, what's that smell? Is that you cooking, Dad? No, I'd made pasta and ramen in fire-powered boiling water. However, my neighbors out-alpha mailed me by sparking up their barbecues. And my two lads were like, meat. Is that us? No, sorry, kids. That was not me. Oh, fantastic. Loads of comments coming in. Thanks as well. Come back to those. And we'll come back to the wonderful climax in Lisbon of when the power finally came on. Oh, it was like the pandemic days when people stood on their steps and cheered. So some of that to come as well. So there you go. There's somebody's cooking device there. That's good to have. That's very good to have. And that's quite a big hob on top of that. That you can't get more basic. That's worth having, isn't it? That's worth having and ready to roll. Churrasqueras all over the place in many back gardens here in Portugal as well. Well done, Viv, who fired up a chicken soup, I think. Very good. Bob, I think well provisioned on the wood there as well. Excellent. Good prepping there. What's this? Spain hits first weekday of 100% renewable power on national grid. Were they boasting about that earlier in the week? So they all went green on April the 22nd, and it's now April 29th. The most of Spain and some of Europe have had massive blackouts. Yeah, right. What's that about? Honestly, this is why we shouldn't have found ourselves in this position, right? If we're crowing about all this off-grid corporate technology we've got, of which we never seem to see the value of. Okay, so we're off-grid and we're not using fire and coal and horrid, nasty things. We're heading towards net zero and 2030, whatever it's called. Why, on the one hand, aren't bills coming down if we found better ways to generate power? Why isn't that being shared with the consumer? And I know this is rhetorical. I know the answer to these questions. I am interested in your answers too, and we will get to your comments. Why, on the one hand, are we not seeing reductions in bills if it's so easy to generate power and a whole country's doing it? And then why, when we really need it on a day like yesterday, was it not there to kick in and help us? Now, I know that's very simplistic. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. Well, forgive me. You might be forgiven for thinking it should work like that in an advanced society. It was embarrassing to Portugal yesterday, I'll be honest. And for anyone who's going to, like if anyone's saying, well, if you don't like it in Portugal, get back to England. It's just as bad. It's just as bad. And if any Portuguese people are watching and they're thinking I'm criticizing your country and your culture, I am not. I am criticizing your government, and you should be too, quite frankly. Okay, so we can have some solidarity on this. It's not you. You don't need to kick the expat who's pointing this out, the foreigner, the immigrant who's pointing this out. You should be having a word with your government about this, quite frankly. Okay, so I think the more pictures will come in, hopefully. Thank you for sharing these with me. They're superb. Finally, then, later that same day in the city, we had some of this. Now, isn't that lovely? I'm very moved by that, just like I was when I saw the people whooping and hollering and cheering when they saw the dolphins coming out of the water at the zoo. There's something about a surge of human emotion, which is beautiful, that you can get carried away on. But that shouldn't have never happened in the first place. That's ridiculous. Of course they were glad to see their power back. But how can a city like Lisbon, famous the world over, a city people want to come to, visit and live in, go lose its power like that, lose its traffic lights, lose everything in one just fell swoop like that? It's absolutely ridiculous. Right, let's go to the comments. Let's see what you think about this. Thank you very much, everybody, for being in this morning. There might be a few new names as well. Lots of people subscribed yesterday. Thank you, everybody who watched the live stream that I was able to improvise yesterday. Jackie, thank you for your comment this morning. I've explained. I brought you right up to date there, and thank you for asking after us. How did you manage to get yesterday's video uploaded? Says Mel. I had no internet either. At that point where I thought, yes, let's coordinate here. Let's see what we can do. I had Vodafone on mobile and I had battery in my laptop. So I am able to do a live stream using a fully charged laptop and my phone. And that's what I did. And I sat in front of it. And that's what you saw. Wind turbines did not work, completely stopped. They weren't even making a in the distance. But that's things that make you go, wind turbines not working on a day when we haven't got any power. And I think we know the technicalities of that, but it's ridiculous that we don't have localized power, isn't it? Why we have central, and this is the problem, corporate centralized power. In the biggest sense of that phrase, this is why we are at the arse end of the situation as consumers, because there's a corporate approach and there's a centralized approach, and we can't win in that situation. Neighbor with solar surprised he had no electricity. The on-grid solar needs the grid to be able to use. That's a pisser. It took 3 hours before a couple of generators struck up. Beautiful community spirit. We got to see that, Owen. I'm sure you get my point. We shouldn't need situations like this. Like, community spirit should be an everyday thing, right? Not something that happens because of a cock up and human error. But so be it, if that's what it takes. I was very chill. Says Mel. The only stressor was not being able to get through to my son in Lisboa. Yeah, that was a problem for everybody, wasn't it? They were completely out before I was in a country area. I loved our community spirit in our little town. Local cafes were buzzing. That's what was happening. Like I say, people were concerned about beer getting too warm and ice cream going off. So everybody piled into town and helped out. The outage was inconvenient, but was pretty calm. That's the Portuguese way. Well done, Portugal, on that basis. Portugal, your government, your infrastructure sucks in this regard. Your people, your culture is, chef's kiss to you. People stayed longer at the cafes, went to the library, and were able to check out books. Books, what are they? I don't know. You'll have to explain what that is. And the library, what's that? Before the power return, I witnessed the best starlit sky, no light pollution whatsoever. Yeah, I think a lot of people were a bit disappointed that it didn't last longer in a strange sort of way. Were you? We had a bunch of leftovers that needed eating before they were spoiled, so we spent the day eating. That's the spirit, Marcus. I'm reminded of Be Prepared, Girl Guide motto. Thanks for the live yesterday. It was a pleasure, and thank you for your calm input, Jane. I noticed specifically that you sent me a very helpful message. Thank you for that. Lots of love to you and Kai. Bon dia, GuMPers from Mike and Karen. Now, I did say I wouldn't live stream anymore, And it's unlikely that I will tomorrow. But this is where the live stream comes into its own, isn't it? When we've really got something important to talk about and share. So these will be pop-ups, and the Portugal Clubbers, you'll decide when we should have a live stream or not, okay? Good morning, people from Lee. Good to see you, Lee. No issues here. Starlink and off-grid system. Starlink, I suspect. Unless your system is powered by Starlings, which we've yet to have as a bird of the week, an off-grid system was able to work to London with no issues. Well done, Pete. Hi, no batch. Pete, when are you gonna? Are there things, guides to getting in the situation that you're in, that you're talking about there? On presumably that's what the YouTube channel is for, Solar Life Portugal. Are there videos on there? Forgive me, I've never looked, but are you teaching people how to do what you've done? Hi, no battery on cell phone until 1 p.m. Absolutely cut out of the world. Last night I thought I must need matches actually if I need to light my candles. Ooh, you were caught with your trousers down. I was caught with no trousers on. Mrs. Emma asked me to put some trousers on yesterday whilst I was working outside the house. Fair point. I was going off grid in terms of apparel. Anita, it was lovely seeing everyone out in the evening, people walking, kids playing. Yes, and the cheers when the lights come on, like a soccer match. That surge of good feeling among humans is a lovely thing, isn't it? The car was fully charged. It was nice to have a dark sky. Starlink, yeah. Get the picture there, Pete. Teach us how, mate. I warned him that Lee might come round for dinner. Yeah, that's right. A lot of people have got their eyes on your gaff, Pete, I think. In an outage. Bon dia, Carl. Hi, Viv. Good to see you. Lovely picture of you. I lived in South Africa, says Anita. Never panic. I don't have it. My friends will have it and share. Yes, never panic. If I don't have it, my friends will have it and share. It was really important that people didn't panic yesterday. And anyone who I was going to say anyone who panics should be ashamed of themselves. No, that's not what I mean. But like, really, it's not going to help. That's my main reason for doing the live stream, was to appeal for calm. And today we can reflect, can't we, and think about what we might do better next time. But panicking is just so awful. And I understand why it happens, but we need to have a word with ourselves quietly, don't we, on the panic thing, because it doesn't help. And the problem with panic is I think it becomes contagious. So we have to be really careful with that. Lee was fine in the evening. It's nice to know everything runs just fine in these events. Yeah, that is a great takeaway, isn't it? Jack, in Esplanade de France, I saw you there 3 p.m. yesterday. Just managed to get the last cold beer. Did you sell it? Did you take advantage of the situation and put in a bit of disaster capitalism with that? I imagine you and Chris drank it and enjoyed it. Bon dia, daughters from Bob sent a pic. If you get to it, Viv Cooking Soup over an open fire. Absolutely, just showed that. Let me show it again because it's a beauty. Viv Cooking Soup over an open fire, everybody. There you go. The only downside of that is having a charred bottom. So don't stand so close to the grill next time. There, Viv. I meant of the pan. What you like, honestly. Think Max and Jamie may be a tad busy. Which ones are they then, Max and Jamie? I think you're referring to Waffle House. Is that right? A Southern institution. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has an index for the level of disruption based on Waffle House, Southeastern only. Yeah. Good to see Carl live again. Yeah, only took a day. Morning. Thank you, Bobby, for your prompt. Not your pomp. That was a couple of days before, wasn't it? Check you out at the Latin Oscars. Morning Sun came up this morning. Yes. Yeah. Isn't that lovely? And it was really wonderful to realize, on the one hand, how dependent we are on technology. But then on the other, if we detach a little bit from us, the world does continue. And the world is beautiful. The planet is beautiful. And, you know, having a dip in the sea was great. Oh, let me just have a sip of water. Have a look at the plant. I need some intermission music. I think I've got some of that. Haven't I? Next time I cough, should I need to? I won't say next time I cough. That's a bad affirmation. Here's my hold music for you. Portugal every way. AI generated music, in case you didn't guess. So yeah, thank you for your prompts yesterday, Bobby. And the sun did come up this morning, just confirming that. It's looking like a lovely day, actually. Our lunch was at a very calm cafe with gas and wood grills, so no problem. Staff not flustered. Patrons not flustered, other than lines trying to fuel up, no big deal in the countryside. Yes, there was a bit of a petrol panic, gas panic, wasn't there? Watching from the Cotswolds, still here. Well done, Jeff. Thank you for checking in with us yesterday. There were enough solar-powered lights around that we still couldn't see the stars. Very well. Yes. Bob, the community out here is awesome. My tractor broke down on Sunday's parade. They had it towed, then on a trailer, and then in the garage, all while we had 3 meals and drinks and watched a tractor tug of war. Fantastic. Is that why it got broken, Pete? Tractor tug of war. Very manly stuff in central Portugal. It's 25 degrees centigrade here. What could possibly go wrong? My goodness, it's 25 already in the Cotswolds in the UK. Why isn't Portugal covered in solar panels? You have so much sun. Well, some of it is. Gary, just like the miners' strike back in the 70s. Nice candlelight dinner with Mrs. A. Very good. If there are children born of this outage yesterday, what do you think they should be called, I wonder? It'd be interesting to think. EDP is not a great name, is it? Nor is Apagão. But anyway, come up with names for possible children conceived yesterday, if you will. Sweden, Portugal, Anna, good to see you. All good here in Coteira. I always have extra water for wash and drink, power banks, battery, radio, and cash. Aren't you glad you bought a shortwave radio yesterday, everybody who did? I will send you a short film of the joy when the electricity returned. Thank you, Anna. That's great. Thank you. Just received that here. I love the way some Portuguese people handle stress. Yeah, an absolute example to us. That I will play before we go. Thank you very much for that. Let me just star that comment. Thanks, Anna. Can you send me some pictures of the tug of war, please? Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that was you having a tug of war. If only we had houses with solar power and batteries. That's a good idea, Bobby. You should look into that. Mayo internet still on the fritz. That's an interesting expression. I think we know exactly what that means. Yes, if we pay for the development of renewables, then make it for a system which works off grid. You're leaning against an open door with most common sense thinking people there, Mel. For some reason, didn't seem to be kicking in yesterday. Some of us do. Just glad we are not tied to the grid like the arrays down in Corvilha. From a countryside point of view, it wasn't so bad. Our older Portuguese neighbours were nonplussed. They just shrugged and chatted about everyday things like chickens and gardens. They're an example to us all. Thank you very much, Marcus. What I noticed were no government updates, not on the local radio. They were caught with their trousers down, let's face it. They're busy. They've got an election coming up. The last thing they're bothered about is other people. They're thinking about their own political necks. Call me cynical, but no, they're not bothered. And this shows you why, or this is a really good example of how unbothered a government is. You would think, wouldn't you, and this is something I want to mention, the social contract. This is where we are. Some of us think that we're in a time where the institutions we've known and loved are breaking down, right? Education, health, government. These things were fit for purpose for a window of time. This is how civilizations come and go, isn't it? And sensible civilizations might elongate their chances by reviewing what they're doing and improving it. Others just cling on to the old systems that don't work anymore, like an electricity system that you saw yesterday. Now, any decent government, a government who let's think of a politician for a moment who thinks to himself, I serve the people. I got into politics to serve the people. And you know what? They pay a lot of tax here. And it would be really great if, as a politician, me and my colleagues made sure that the things they pay taxes for, so whenever I say to people, why don't we make taxes voluntary? Oh, no, you can't do that. No one would pay. It tells you something, doesn't it? And if you find out what happens in a so-called civilized society, if you say you don't want to or you don't, right? That's there are things for that. And I think they sort of basically guns and jails, right, for people who won't comply in that way. Now that's another topic. But given that we do pay tax, and we do pay a lot of tax here in Portugal, you might think that civic-minded politicians over the last few decades, one thing they might have made sure of is to create a sustainable, functional electrical system into the country for the good of the people. Let's see. No, that didn't happen, did it? It didn't happen yesterday. Sorry. And let me just get back to your comments. Right. Wind turbines lock themselves when the grid is down so as not to send power to an unstable grid. That's a great idea, isn't it? When you need power from the great turbines that we're told are so useful. Not attacking the messenger there, Marcus, but you'd have thought a system that deals with that particular problem might be quite a sensible precaution. Still no water in some parts of Lisbon. And it was interesting, wasn't it? The places that obviously needed power to pump their water, that didn't have reservoirs in place, which would include big cities, of course, the first to struggle from such things. They went down. Cascais went down pretty quickly. So if you live in Cascais, the note to self there is to store water or fill up your bath very quickly because your water is pumped using electricity. It would appear. Where were you yesterday, Lord Gilchrist? We need you we need you to talk about grids. That's your business, isn't it? I was playing around with the grid and forgot to put the new fuse in. It was him. Okay, so we've got two suspects. Lord Gilchrist, all rise. Not anymore, mate. You've got some making up to do with us, consumers of electricity. So it was either you or this guy yesterday. Never seen you both in the same room at the same time as well, interestingly. One of the downsides of European integration policies. Do you mean there are others, Gary? We'll be buying a battery pack, says Pickle Praggins. Good to see you here this morning. But overall, everyone was calm and shops were open, taking cash. Yay! To those people championing the taking of cash. Well, cash, not necessarily the taking of it. The fact that Portugal uses many hydroelectric dams meant that local grids could come back on as soon as they were isolated. Tamar had power at around 5 p.m. It'd be really great to understand this. Are there videos about how Portugal's not water or hydroelectric, but our electrical systems, or are we not allowed to use that because terrorists might see it? We need to keep a lot of things from you just in case bad people see them. The reality is the European grid is in poor condition and needs billions spent on it to upgrade and maintain the working condition. The grid is a huge machine with many parts, all aging and crusty. Would it not be a good idea to start again and have local generation, Lord Gilchrist? I mean, what do I know? I'm not a virologist. I'm not a vaccinologist. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not an economist. I'm not all the things that we've been likely to become in the last little while, including now an electrical engineer. I'm not one of those either, but forgive me for asking, like the little boy at the Emperor's New Clothes Parade, if it needs so much spending on it, why don't we spend money on new and more useful things instead of buying loads of WD-40 and gaffer tape and bits of copper and trying to make that old behemoth, is that the right word? Well, anyway, this massive liability of a thing that didn't work yesterday. You have to remember, I'm having to remember here, that wind turbines need to be monitored. If backup links are down, it's only natural they have to be stopped from a safety issue. Whatever. Carl, I don't want everyone to know where we are. Of course you don't. Oh, I see. Is that why you're not making any videos? Bon dia a todos, says Philomena. Good morning to you, Philomena. And yes, you can be very proud on behalf of our Portuguese Culture Friends Society, how well Portuguese people dealt with that yesterday. Thank you, Philomena. I was fine for myself. Off-grid, solar, power bank, gas camping, stove, rechargeable lights, camping at home, food, water, okay. Only hassle was telephone communications to check on family and friends. Absolutely. RTP Radio had announced giving updates and practical advice about what to do. The government was giving honest updates. We don't know yet is sometimes the only real answer. Yes. To be fair to the government, they can't get it right. When they're honest, no one believes them anyway. But that might be something to do with how they've behaved in the past, of course. A taste of living in Palestine or Ukraine, that did occur to people, did it not? It could have been a whole lot worse. And yes, a good point, well made there, Gary. Great, Viv. I have also used by barbecue to warm some food for us to have lunch. Very good. Oh, Max and Jamie, good times for solar experts and anyone in the backup energy business. I think today they'll get a few calls, will they not? See just how reliant humans are on electrical power. Imagine if there was a week-long outage. No thanks. How about we imagine it working instead of imagining it not working? Our minds are very powerful things, Lord Gilchrist. MB Solar Solutions and Spark Point Solar. Shout out to them if you do want to consult somebody. Good morning to you, Denise, as well. Lovely to see you. Belated birthday wishes to you as well. Good to see you, Denise. Até breve, vou começar a trabalhar. Back to work, everybody. Beijinhos. Name for outage kids, Ren. Oh, okay, yeah. Ren's not a bad name, is it? Outage kids. I'm an outage kid. Oh, Herreras, Turbina. That's a lovely name. Oh, Candela. No Internet. All right, he's taking the mickey now. The word can sum up the word can sum up the state of things. Entropy. Thank you very much. I hope when you're consulting electrical companies, you give them more than that. Lord Gilchrist. Kids' names: Spike, Pulse, Hanky Panky, Stub My Toe. Stub My Toe, get over here, behave yourself. Traditions are the answers to the questions we've forgotten. Oh, Vitor, Portugal do Costa during the power outage. Screenshot. Traditions are the answers to the questions we've forgotten. Flipping heck. He may be young, but he's got the mind of an ancient sage. That's going in. I haven't forgotten. I'm playing your video, Anna. I've already downloaded that. That's an awesome little saying there. That's got to go over at the Portugal Club to our sayings of the day. I am sticking that in there when the show is finished. Thank you very much, Vitor, via Bob there. Did you see Bob and Viv's recording yesterday? Very, very good. Sense of adventure, alive and well here in Portugal. They are personifying it. And the old guy in Europe, was it worth moving to Europe? He answers that question. I've been thinking for some time that we should invest in solar and batteries just for this circumstance. Even in the UK, I think my mind is now made up. A lot of people are swinging that way now, Coach. And that's why I was doing all this preparedness stuff. Anyone who thought I was a doom and gloom monger last week might like to think again and thank me this week. The grid is quite a good solution to distribute power from various sources. Generation of power is easier than distributing to where people live and work. I would have thought we have the technology to build local community-owned substations, not even substations, stations for local communities. It makes sense to decentralize, does it not? That, I think, is what's going on. We will have to decentralize or die, I think, in our civilization. I've been thinking for some time that we should invest in solar. Oh, okay, we've got that comment there. Thank you very much. A government could have at least said if it was all Portugal first, just Portugal or Europe or whatever, and key tips for what to do. They did tell you via the European Commission to buy a shortwave radio a few weeks ago, to be fair. And key tip, you could have burnt your shortwave radio and kept warm around it last night. And key tips of what to do for those who have not been in the situation. There is a whole lot more the government could have done for sure. Make sure it's not connected to the grid, though. Yeah, this is a key takeaway, isn't it? If you fell for linking your system to the grid and selling it back, you were going down with the grid, it would appear yesterday. In Australia, you are not allowed to have off-grid, only in homes in some all city areas. Why is that? What is it that Australia are leading the world in that this is part of? Say it! Don't blame the French. Their infrastructure is rusty crap. Right. Isn't that you know, if you're sat there with whittling sticks in the electrical apocalypse, you've at least got this little bit of comfort that you can blame the French again for something else about their infrastructure and their rusty crap. Rusty crap, that's quite a good name for a child possibly conceived yesterday. Rusty, not crap. Local generation is actually less efficient and costs more. It's all relative, though, isn't it? I mean, where would you put the cost yesterday to society? You're not going to slide that past me. I know you're in the business of massive electrical generation, Andrew, and perhaps we'll talk about this over a beer in the bay one day. But when people say this is why we're in the situation we're in, when you just swallow less efficient and more expensive, people just have been too ready to agree in these last few decades. It's much better. It will save money. Oh, okay then. Yeah, fine. Just do it. Whatever that was. No, we need to broaden our idea of efficiency and especially of cost. The cost yesterday to society was huge, and it's not a cost that can be I'm sure economists will make an estimate of what it was and tell us how many billions were lost in business or whatever and impact. But the cost is more than an isolated event on a balance sheet for a massive company, right? Which is who decides whether it costs more or less and gives you a business plan of what they want to do. I'm quite gobby this morning, aren't I? You can buy 1 million high wind turbines to feed. I don't think I've got that right. You can buy 1 meter high wind turbines. Sorry, not 1 million wind turbines. That's the sort of thing people are upset about in the UK. 1 million wind turbines to feed to your battery pack. Works in the backyard, maybe better in UK. I had a tiny little solar panel that was charging up my phone. It was brilliant. Solar's come a long way. We should all be looking at this, and we will. Works in the backyard, maybe better in UK. Cloudy days, you don't get much power from solar. Yes, more windy in UK. I was definitely more windy when I lived in the UK, and now I'm more sunny since I've moved to Portugal with the 300 days of sunshine, obviously. Good morning. Where is he this morning? Good morning from Sintra. Druba, good to see you. I haven't seen you for ages. You were quite the feature of the early live streams 3 or 4 years ago. Vizio has its own bio power station. Is that a digester? That's a good bit of technology. Power companies have more money than Scrooge McDuck. Absolutely. Who's getting wealthy from power companies? Is it the society that they generate power for? Is it a win-win? I wonder. We all know the answer to that. No, it's not. Of course it's not. And who helped them get to where they are? The people who were nowhere to be seen yesterday, who are fighting for their political lives at a ballot box near you soon. Our town had constant water supply due to localized generators pumping water to the town. We need decentralized, locally controlled systems for everything. Yes, yes. The Vizio power station collects all the timber waste and nutshell and olives pressings. That is a biopower station. That is a good idea, isn't it? I tell you what, why don't we use the waste products locally, decentralized, localized? We've got timber waste, we've got nutshells, we've got olive pressings. Why don't we use them locally to create power? That's a genius idea. This is why stuff will break down. But don't worry, the power companies will get fined for yesterday. Exactly. And they'll pay the fines out of the massive profits that they've generated from the likes of you and I. Come on, people. Wake up. Can you send contact info for your solar people, please? Mike and Karen are asking. Bye, Randy Andero. Oh, hello. An unexpected pleasant surprise. Yes, that's the way to deal with it. You're so Portuguese. With no wind, you get 0 from turbines. Well, yes. This is why they pay you the big bucks, I suspect. Is that part of those big reports you get paid massively for? Chapter 1, with no wind, you get 0 from turbines. I can see where we've been going wrong here. But how can we make more money, more to the point? And when you're hanging out with the fat cats, Andrew, unfortunately, where we are in the UK won't work well for wind. So solar, you need more vegans. So solar is the only option. A vegan farm, feed them beans, generate power. Unless I want to build a miniature gas turbine, which is sometimes what they call the Portuguese, the miniature gas turbine. Wonder how many people are going to claim on their insurance for spoiled food in their fridges. Big premium rises next year then. Old age doesn't come alone. Nor do all these problems. Whichever way you look at it, you're screwed. All right, come on. He's going to the dark side. Can we help Gary here, please? Mel, my 100-watt solar panel only pulls a maximum 17 watts on a cloudy day in Portugal. So you are likely screwed in the UK. There's a professional opinion for you. Renard generator. You'll be doing, with advice like that, Mel, you'll be doing Andrew out of business. Renard generator from 1,500 to 2,000 yesterday. Good work, Hugh. Is that diesel driven? UK allows battery storage to be disconnected from the grid, as far as I understand. Well, as soon as they realise they're letting you do that, they'll be tightening up that little loophole, I suspect, and you can top the batteries up with cheap juice at night. And yes, and in cloud, you get minimal from the sun. For me, I have both. Yes, that's right. Diversify, localize. We know what to do, don't we? We're just a bit slow in doing it. And a day like yesterday helps us hasten clarify our mind and hasten our plans. You've been awesome this morning. Okay, any more comments have come in? Okay, thank you, Bobby. Yes, Carl is doing a live stream again right now. Lots of YouTube comments. Oh, okay, excellent, fantastic. That was a bit of crosstalk in my WhatsApp there. I think we should finish. I think we should finish with the lovely video. I've not seen it, but the way Anna describes it, of loving how Portuguese people deal with such situations, I think it's only right that we play this and see what happens. Have a great day. Hopefully, lessons will be learned from yesterday. Well, I think we'll be waiting a long time if we wait for lessons to be learned on that corporate centralized level that I've certainly been criticizing this morning, and I think others might find some level of agreement with me. They might find me a little too extreme and conspiratorial, but I think you might see some germ of truth in what I've been talking about this morning. And the best lessons learned, I think, will be the ones that we see for ourselves and put into practice in our own lives. Where else do we start and have most power? Here's how the Portuguese people responded. Is this from the Algarve, Anna? Right. Fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. And we can feel that. You can actually feel it, can't you? Palpably. So, as well as a takeaway from that, of course, Anna, is that as well as tinned food, water, batteries, shortwave radio, candles, grab bag by the door, and other things, which you can find out more about. We're researching and developing that at the Portugal Club. Come join us, GMP, VIP. It's lots happening over at the Portugal Club. Come and join us. As well as all of those things, you need an air horn to celebrate the end of the difficulty. Bop, bop, bop. Right, it wasn't diesel. Apparently, Hugh had Jane running on a treadmill. That's a very good system. It was a real wake-up call, says Hugh. It really was. But we can all go back to sleep now. Turbines have a huge initial cost to construct and have to be tied to the grid. Local generation for backup is important, like in Visio. I'm a big fan of hydro and nuclear. So maybe we'll talk to you more in depth about this. Gina, buongiorno from Italy. Well, yesterday, what and height for some. How did you fare, Carl? We did great. We had a good day. When my son said to me, my 13-year-old son looked at me late last night and said, "We did good." I think we were pretty well prepared. From the mouths of babes, as it were, I felt pretty good about that. Things are loads more consistent than when we first arrived. That's a good perspective. Thank you, Andy, on that. I didn't play the whole music. That was only a short cough. It's all the chemtrails topping the power lines, Carl. So I knew you'd come round to it eventually, Gary. If yesterday did not happen, we wouldn't be seeing you now, Carl. So silver lining family. Bless you. Thank you, Jackie. See how happy electricity makes everybody. Not when you touch it, from my experience. Rotting. Oh, chemtrails rotting the power lines. It's a good theory. And how about we talk about it? And I've been given a really good explanation of why that aeroplane was flying backwards and forwards. Thanks, Nick Robinson, Algarve Addicts, for that. Very, very good. Let's keep talking about this, about that, about all things. We're only going to get somewhere if we can have the difficult conversations and keep talking with each other, right? So maybe that's another takeaway from yesterday. Let's get to the bank, buy supplies, and buy some plants. I've got to go, everybody. This is Emma giving me my orders there. Take care. Bye for now. And those of you who are in the Portugal Club can enjoy this environment again tomorrow by joining the Portugal Club. If you're not already, go to theportugalclub.com and you can sit on the recordings, which are actually far more focused and I think useful in the long term, which we record in the usual slots. All your favorite speakers, co-hosts and guests join me every morning. Actually, not sure about tomorrow. There might be another unexpected item in the bagging area tomorrow. Definitely for you Portugal Club members, that's a good idea to join. Come support us. Come get great value for yourself at theportugalclub.com. Okay. Did you see where the plane landed? No, I didn't. That's quite the cliffhanger. Did you see where the plane landed? I shall leave it right there because, look, I've clearly got to go and meet Mrs. M for a date. Let's get to the bank. She knows how to talk sexy to me. Let's get to the bank, buy supplies, and buy some plants. Wow. Got to go, everybody. And maybe some time, at least 5 minutes.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell.